This is Devotional number 185, and today's date is December 9th, 2016. And this week we've been looking at 1 Corinthians 13, 5 through 10. And we're down to verse 7. There we read, speaking of love or charity, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. And the all things in this context really has to do with the scriptures themselves. This word beareth is Strong's number 4722 in the phrase beareth all things. And it's only found in two other chapters in the New Testament. For example, it appears in verse 12 of 1 Corinthians 9, 14 through 15. And in the context, it has to do with God's decree, as stated in verse 14, that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. Paul, under divine inspiration, makes the case that this precept is clearly taught in the Old Testament. And though he would have a legitimate right to claim financial support from the Corinthian church, he opted to forego this right so as not to hinder the gospel in any way, which in and of itself is a striking demonstration of his love and commitment to the saints at Corinth. Have we not power to eat and to drink? Have we not power to lead about a sister, a wife, as well as other apostles, and as the brethren of the Lord in Cephas? Or I only and Barnabas, have not we power to forbear working? Who goeth a warfare any time at his own charges? Who planteth a vineyard and eateth not of the fruit thereof? Or who feedeth a flock and eateth not of the milk of the flock? Say I these things as a man, or saith not the law the same also? For it is written in the law of Moses, Thou shalt not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth out the corn. Doth God take care for oxen? Or saith he altogether for our sakes? For our sakes, no doubt, this is written, that he that ploweth should plow in hope, and he that thresheth in hope should be partaker of his hope. If we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we shall reap your carnal things? If others be partakers of this power over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used this power, but suffer all things. Here this word suffer is Strong's number 4722. Lest we should hinder the gospel of Christ. Do ye not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar? Even so hath the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. But I have used none of these things, neither have I written these things, that it should be so done unto me. For it were better for me to die than that any man should make my glorying void. The next place we encounter this word beareth or suffer is in 1 Thessalonians 3, 1-5, in which it is rendered could no longer forbear, both in verse 1 and in verse 5. In the context, we learn of Paul and Timotheus's desire to see their Thessalonian brethren again, but were hindered from doing so by Satan, which was a test of their patience and endurance. Finally, though, God allowed Paul to send Timotheus to Thessalonica for a first-hand assessment. Timotheus's report regarding their spiritual welfare provided great encouragement to both of them. Wherefore, when we could no longer forbear, we thought it good to be left at Athens alone. and sent Timotheus, our brother, and minister of God and our fellow laborer in the gospel of Christ, to establish you and to comfort you concerning your faith, that no man should be moved by these afflictions. For yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto. For verily when we were with you, we told you before that we should suffer tribulation, even as it came to pass, and ye know. For this cause, when I could no longer forbear, I sent to know your faith, lest by some means the tempter have tempted you, and our labor be in vain. And of course, we can also relate this to our present day, this time of fiery trial that believers are going through. And it's a time when more and more we have to keep our focus on things above, recognizing that God is the one that gives us strength and grace and encouragement by His Word on a daily basis. Now, I'm afraid we're going to have to stop here, but next week we want to continue, since we're only on verse 7, and we have to go down to verse 10, so we'll do that, Lord willing, this next week.